Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. Are you from, sorry for,
Don't worry, please.
are you part of Sonny's team?
Well, I don't work at, I work with him, but I'm not actually at his company at his company where he's
Okay.
based, but I participate.
Okay.
I take part in this conference because of his invitation.
Okay. I just want to be sure that I'm on the right place.
Okay, good thing.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Artificial Intelligence and Digital Transformation webinar on Africa's energy, corporate, and power sectors. My name is Sonny Lawrence Oputa of Energy and Corporate Africa, your host. It is so clear to us that the world is transforming and Africa is also transforming. That's a great paradigm shift in the way things are being done, from the operations perspective to the human resources. Now it's either you swim or you get drowned or be swallowed by the sharks. We are looking at how Africa is changing and getting ready for the great market rebound that is being expected by the fourth quarter of this year. It is so clear that the pandemic of COVID-19 has affected the way we do business, the way operations are being run, whether remotely from the office or outside the office, and how we can remotely monitor things that are going on in the flow stations or the fields. That's a great change. Africa has embraced digital transformation in all aspects of its workforce. But we want to look at the challenges, the state of things, how data is being collected, the analytics, the data warehousing, the data management, the performance enhancement, the areas that people have really touched, and the challenges and what we are doing to ensure that Africa remains at par with other nations in digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, this will form part of the discussions we are to have starting today and ending tomorrow. We have great people on to discuss the issues of digital transformation in Africa's energy, corporate, and power sector. This webinar will be starting off with a group of discussants and presenters. We have Eugene Tukam, Commercial Director, Sub-Saharan Africa of Baker Hughes. We have Ekende Ohiwere, who is the General Manager, Technical Services of Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas. Abdurraham Minjua, the Asset Optimization Manager of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, SNEPCO. Emmanuel Odofia, who is the CEO and digital expert of Sonex Energy. Angel Oyono Ngalo, who is the CEO and co-founder of Orohi Spain. And tomorrow we also have the following to present. We have Stig Olav Setemsdal, the Chief Technology Officer and Head Global Technology of Siemens, that will be joining us from Norway. Tangod Ewe, who is the CEO and Technical Director of Cypher Crescent Digital Company. Funke Tello, CEO of Energy Assets, Kenny Job, the upstream manager of Gambia National Petroleum Corporation, Oladuni Owo, the CEO of Black Gold. And also we'll be having a great panel section on bridging the gender gap in digital transformation in Africa, what Africa is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be kicking off soon, and we're supposed to have Mr. Eugene Tukam to do the first presentation. If Mr. Eugene Tukam is not ready, I'm not seeing you on screen right now, but as we are looking at the modalities, we will get presentation from all the speakers today, and then there will be room for Q&A. After the Q&A section, if we have more questions, we will still send emails to all the speakers and presenters to go in and respond to those questions. And as we are getting Mr. Eugene Tukam ready, we are also asking Mr. Ekende Ohiwere, who is the General Manager, Technical Services, and the lead in digital transformation in Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas, to please get ready.
Okay, Madam, after the event, I will not be able
In
to
the same perspective, we'll be asking all the speakers that we have the system ready for you to share your screens or share your slides whenever you are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, for quick introduction, Mr. Ekende Ohiwere, who is the General Manager, Technical Services of NLNG, started off with the trains in LNG as a project engineer. From his role as a project engineer, Mr. Ekende, who handled the beginning of the train development, moved on to become the lead in procurement, logistics, and supply chain with Liquefied Natural Gas Nigeria. He moved on to become the first maintenance manager, and he also acted in the position of the lead in Nigerian content. Mr. Ekende continued on his rise to the level of becoming the General Manager, Technical Services, and he also the lead in digital transformation. Today, we'll be listening to him and watching him present on how digital transformation has enhanced processes in the development of liquefied natural gas and LNG. And here we'll be looking at various aspects of it and how the digital transformation is helping them to achieve efficiency, reduce costs, and ensure that the workflow continues to be what is expected. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ohiwere, please, if you're ready, we're handing over to you for your presentation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello. Okay, go ahead, Ekende. We can hear you.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Sunny, for this invitation. Nigeria LNG is very pleased to be part of this event. And we think it's a very timely topic, especially when we look at what is happening around the world. And we're glad to see a focus on Africa as we all try and find our way through the COVID situation. For those who may not know about Nigeria LNG, Nigeria LNG is a business that was started about 30 years ago, and we started production just over 20 years ago in 1999. And we're a global LNG company, and one of our missions is to help to build a better Nigeria. And we market LNG to all parts of the globe. We also have a strong presence locally in the domestic LPG. It's owned majority by the Nigerian government with their the usual partners that we see in Nigeria, and Shell, Total, and we also have two subsidiaries. One is the Bonigas Transport Limited, which is the holder of our ships, and we manage a significant portion of our fleet, both with crewing as well as also the technical management of those vessels. Perhaps the only company in Nigeria to do that. There has been a very interesting journey over the last 3 decades for Nigeria LNG, and tucked away in a little island in the Niger Delta, which I think a lot of people will appreciate, is an interesting environment to work in, and it's had its share of challenges, but we've managed to see some success. We were last year voted the company of the decade for Nigeria, which was a great honor for us. We are closing in on our 5,000th cargo, and we hope to hit that later this year. It is a global company, but with a very strong local presence and 100% Nigerian management. We have one of the largest fleets in, at least in sub-Saharan Africa, under our care, 23 LNG ships. We have 6 trains, and some of you may know we just launched a project to build a 7th train to increase our capacity by 35%. And we have that will increase the asset base and hopefully the revenue and the dividends that we contribute to Nigerian economy. Locally, as said, we are about half of the domestic liquefied petroleum gas or cooking gas market. And we are also quite active in the CSR space, currently undergoing one of the biggest CSR projects in the region with a 40-kilometer road through a very difficult terrain in the Niger Delta to bring a road from the capital of the state, Port Harcourt, to Bonny. But we're here to talk about digital, and I'll give you a little bit of a background of how our digital journey started. About 4 years ago, we were in an interesting place in our asset life. We had transitioned out of the project phase, which we're now incidentally going back into. And we were into a more mature operate phase. And what we saw, the benchmarks were showing us, we were perhaps falling behind some of our peers in terms of our plant reliability. And we had to respond. And after the usual low-hanging fruit, just reorganizing the organization, focus on processes, operational excellence, realized that we needed to leverage technology as for that last 3 or 4% of improvement that we needed to get to. And I think, like a lot of people, we were a bit confused about what digital was. You know, what's all this about? And I think one of the first things we went about trying to understand was what the whole Industry 4.0 was about and how the digital transformation concept we're hearing about was different from the information technology space we're more used to. So we decided to categorize what we felt was pure IT, which is the physical to digital space, which is what information technology is really about, driving digitized signals. We were fortunate that our plant was built at a time where it was digitized and we had a lot of data, which is the bedrock of digital. And we started to see, okay, the elements of digital that were pure digital plays, visualization, data analytics, robots, and things like craft tools. And I must confess, we were also, I'm sure like many people, very tempted to start in the far end of the spectrum, jumping into craft tools, jumping into robotization. We had a bit of play there with drones, and we started talking about 3D printing. But I think the aha moment for us was really understanding that the link between IT and digital and the foundation of everything was really in the middle about data, and how you bring data together, integrate it, and you start to derive value for data. So that's where our digital journey really started. And our first plays were really very simple visualization plays. And I'll tell you a bit more about that in a few minutes. But in the time since 2017, when we started, we've kind of evolved a bit of a strategy, and which we're using as the basis for our digital journey. Our aspiration is to build a digital workforce, because we truly believe that if we can digitize our workforce in terms of the skill set of the workforce, where digital becomes very similar to IT literacy, how it was about 20 years ago, and when you saw that spec break in the market, where if you didn't have IT literacy, you were perhaps not qualified for the most competitive jobs. We believe digital literacy is going to be that new thing that's going to drive our company forward. Our strategy is fully aligned with our midterm strategy and also our long-term strategy. We are looking on an arc to be fit for what we call fit for 50, to see what kind of company do we need to build now to be resilient to 2050. And in the medium term, we're focusing on 3 elements: keep it safe, keep it full, and make it grow. Train 7 is part of that story.
Okay, please, Kehinde, please. The font box on your presentation is blocking your screen. Is it possible you cancel it, the font box, so you can continue, please? Sorry for the interruption. The font box is covering your presentation.
Okay, I do apologize. I can't see it. So I will close everything. And
yeah, you're cool now. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I do apologize. Thank you very much. So we have a midterm strategy, which is keep it safe, keep it full, and make it grow. And for us, keep it safe means zero. And there's been a talk in industry about an aspiration towards goal 0. And our push now is to say at some point 0 has to mean 0. We can't keep aspiring to it anymore. And how do we start to deliver that? How do we take losses out of the value chain? And how do we take more control of our assets so that we have no surprises? And again, back to the link to digital workforce, how do we enable our people? We're building a foundation around that, which is built on data capabilities, processes, the way of working, and bringing the whole company together, building capability and working in an agile manner. Of course, leadership commitment is the thing you always hear about, that it's essential for any change journey. But whilst we believe leadership has to be at the top, we believe in leadership all the way down the vertical. So leading both at the shop floor, in middle management, as well as at the top of the company. And we're getting and building that support across the chain. There are also some other elements that we realized that we needed to pay attention to. One was the legal aspects. When we started to delve into digital, things like legal rights, contracts, IP, we start to pop up. The ethics of digital is something we discuss a lot about, how we want to prosecute our digital transformation journey, but also the value that it brings. So one of the tough areas we have is how do you describe value in the digital age? Labor issues are always very topical. I'm sure you all understand why. And we have our own view, which is built on our culture, both as a company, but also as a country, and about the context in which we find ourselves. We're very sensitive to that. And of course, security. And I'm always being tasked about what does safety mean in the digital area beyond cybersecurity. Collaboration is also quite a big piece for us. Apologies. And we have what we call the 1, 2, 3 focus for us in how we partner with IT. In the beginning, we had to pull away from IT to really understand what digital was. But it became clear to us that, especially in the integration space, that without IT, there's no digital. So you really need to build and use digital to drive your IT infrastructure and investment. But the way we approach innovation in our company is quite simple. We have one innovation space, so there is no dichotomy about who controls it. It's for the company. And the digital and IT teams work hand in hand seamlessly to solve business problems with the business. So there isn't no real us versus them. And I think that's one of the challenges we saw that a lot of companies were having in that definition with what does IT do and what does digital do. So we're working that relationship, which I think is going well. But we also went a little bit further and said, how do we move away from just being an initiative-based activity where we did create some space for some innovation and also to asset integrity. They had to be a lot more the fabric of how we actually do our technical work, mechanical or civil or instrumentation, which we now use as part of our design criteria. So a few of the plays were going on, and I won't try and explain any of them. I'm sure there are many more people in this forum that know these things much better than I, but just to give you a flavor of the kind of things we're looking at. One of our prides in terms of our plays is our process analytics play, and we've seen quite a lot of value being created by doing some machine learning in process automation. We're looking at robotics again, and now that we've built a foundation on data now, we're building that, we're looking back into this space, and of course, there's some very big plays in terms of security and safety that these robots can help us with. Wearables is becoming more and more topical, even before the COVID, but even more so now because of the ways where we've spent perhaps a huge part of our efforts in building the skills internally for us to have a more mature and robust conversation with the technology providers and our partners. And I'll say the biggest space for us where we've seen the most advancement and perhaps the most value has been in visualization. And we've done a lot of work coupling it with simple analytics to really drive the way we collaborate with the asset, collaborate with each other, and also we make decisions in the business. So what's really happened so far, some of the highlights for us, from 2018, we started seeing a reduction in losses by 50%. We broke our production record and we started to see a bit of a culture change. For 2019, we broke the record again. And I think in 2018, in the peer group where we were lagging behind, we had the best reliability performance of the year. A lot of that were driven by some of the plays we had, or data with me, predictive analytics, and trying to create assets that talk. But we're still going further. And one of the things we're prosecuting is something we call the Asset of the Future strategy. And we're now making digital baked into our corporate strategy. And that's part of my mission, to try and elevate it to that status in the company and to weave it seamlessly with the aspiration of the company's strategy. So I'll leave you with some final thoughts on our journey. And I'll say it's a journey because we're right in the middle of it. So we're not there yet. We're learning so much every day. I think one of the biggest areas we've seen real value in was in the data science. And we talked about how we improved our production records. A lot of that was driven by machine learning, and also with the use of machine learning for integrity monitoring.
Please, sorry, Ekene, once again, please. The fund boss is back. Is there anything you can do completely? Sorry for the interruption.
I do apologize because I can't see it.
Okay, beautiful. Go ahead now.
Okay.
You're cool.
Okay. So we do have, and I'll skip to the end, if you don't mind. So we're seeing a lot of value from visualization, as I said. And one of the key values we're really seeing is in the change in culture and just the way we make decisions, and the transparency we're seeing in performance has been a real eye-opener for us about the power of digital. And you know this, so forgive me for repeating the obvious, but what we've learned is really about encouraging young talent. So we're focusing a lot on the new joiners in our business and making sure digital is second nature for them. And we've had to find ways of allowing room for innovation. But I'll jump to the last point where we said that we did not create a separate digital team, which sits in a little swanky office away from the business. I know that works for some people, but it didn't work for our context. So we had the people who are the practitioners all involved in digital efforts. And that leads me to another point about not copying. And that was because we saw many examples and we had to pick the one we felt worked best for our context. And we didn't feel a separate digital team that was not aligned or part of the company culture would work for us. One of the things we learned, and we were happy we did, was really to face the conversations, the tough conversations early on. People had concerns about their ability to keep up with the skills of digital. People had concerns about jobs. And we brought that out in the open very, very early and talked about that with many groups of stakeholders to reduce the fear. But we would even spend more time on hearts and minds if we could do this over again. I think we did invest a lot in it, but I think for anyone who's starting on that journey, it's really important to have those conversations. In the end, the world is about people, not robots, so we need to talk. And one thing we're still struggling with is how do you create a value story around digital? You have things make sense to do, but sometimes it's very difficult to put them in dollars and cents. What's our blue sky? What are we chasing? Things like value chain optimization. How do we now knit all our functions together into one seamless continuum and ensure that we have no loss? I think I mentioned that in the strategy, we have no loss across the value chain and we take advantage of market opportunities. And one of the huge pains we see is about managing data. And I'm sure everybody struggles with this, managing data, keeping it clean, And that's something we really would love to see the industry improve on how we handle data at a cost that is reasonable. We believe focusing on people has helped along the way. And one interesting thing was we didn't have much funding or budget or even resources in the beginning. But I would argue that that actually really helped us, because it really helped us to strip down to the brass tacks of what is digital about. And it took us back to the garage where you are in incubator mode and you're thinking about how you can get things done very effectively. We've tried to keep that leanness and that mindset in even now that we are starting to get a bit more funding and more resources. Building our capability early, trying to build hard skills ourselves in coding, in visualization, so that when we're talking to people externally and people were selling us technology, we had an idea of what they were selling us and the value of it. I always offer to us for millions of dollars many years ago, I wouldn't pay $100,000 for now. But you really need to be careful about picking your partners, going to be side by side with you. And I think we have.
Right, thank you.
So did you lose me or did you hear the end of the presentation?
Are you still on? Go ahead.
So did you lose the connection or it sounds like you did?
Go ahead. Yeah, we can get you now.
Oh yes, no, just rounding up. Forgive me, I'm not sure where it ended, but I know my time is up. So just to say thank you very much for the opportunity to open the conference, and we're looking forward to partnering with a lot of you in this conference as we march forward with our digital transformation journey. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hiwara. That was an insightful presentation, looking at what is going on in LNG to ensure optimization of processes and also to encourage talents. We have a few questions for you from our participants. First is, what kind of AI challenges or digital transformation challenges do you have over there? Are you encountering some challenges to ensure that you achieve the goals?
So I would say the first challenge we had was just the very low skill set we had in terms of digital skills. And that was one of the things we had to invest in early. And we had to train some people internally to be data scientists, some people to work on AI, so that we had people internally who understood the language and could also cut through some of the confusion that sometimes you saw. I think the other thing was there was a lot of technology push, and when also you're under pressure to respond to business challenges, one of the pressures we had was how do we know what to invest in, especially because a lot of things are still quite nascent, so it's not sure what the VHS or Betamax is going to be. For those of us who are above 40, we may understand that reference. So which one do you pick? And I think that's one of the challenges we still have and we're still being through. And I think the biggest challenge everyone is always faced with is data. And people always say, oh, the data is not clean, the data is not there, data is not enough, et cetera, et cetera. And there's this utopian fallacy that you need clean data everywhere just to start. But we kind of flipped it on its head and said, digital transformation is about value. So we work back from what are we trying to do and what is the minimum data set we need to start to create value in that area. And I think that's what really set us going. Whilst in parallel, we have started trying to solve data issues, which is what I think one of the biggest pains we have. The cost of data infrastructure, cleaning data, keeping it clean. I think that's one of the key.
Okay. The next question we have for you is, how have you been using digital transformation to reduce operational costs And also, how do you manage big data? Just like you've given an insight on that already. Okay, how are you using it to manage operational costs and also the issue of big data?
Okay, so I think when we talk about partners, I think we understand enough now to understand our strengths and where we perhaps should not try to build too much in. So for big data, we're leaning on our partnerships with existing technical partners who have and are developing significant expertise in that area. So we have a few plays like a digital twin we're building with one of our partners. We're also doing some analytics, building an analytics layer with another partner, bringing in that expertise. So I think the key thing for us was to understand that we needed support to do that. I think the second thing is that the way we're dealing with it is that we are not trying to populate the universe at the same time. So we are building a standard and a structure, and our vision is to, our approach is to connect the data sources as needed to that. So we build the data universe up bit by bit. So that's on that. I think on the other side of operational cost, that's a lot more internal, and that's where we've seen a lot of opportunity with our internal knowledge and leveraging our operational excellence and experience. What we've used is digital is to look across the continuum from visualization to robotics to see what are the tools that can really help us unlock value. One simple one is speed of decision making and just looking for data. And visualization has been really powerful. Things that used to take us maybe half a day to get reports together, we don't need those reports anymore because the data is live and it's in a very accessible contextual way. And it's not only for a few people now, everybody in the business has that data now. We can use it to work. So those kind of simple things, I talked about the challenges with value explanation. It's not always easy to show the direct cost, but it's very evident when it's working and everybody feels it. So we're seeing a lot of value even in operational costs and losses from that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, lastly, let's look at this one. How do you utilize your digital transformation and data to handle security? What's your stand on security?
A lovely question. It's something we're looking at a lot. We're building, we have a vision and aspiration, but if I take you back to the continuum of what we showed in the beginning between IT and digital, one of the things we clearly realized very quickly that in that space, we were still very analog. So we still had very manual processes. So the first process we're trying to do is digitize a lot of things. We've been doing that for the last couple of years, digitizing access, but now we're also building digital imagery and building that out. And on top of that, we want to start building infrastructure like visual analytics, things that have facial recognition. And also we're looking at opportunities for using drones, Sentry drones for security, but also for things like pipeline surveillance. The technology is there. I think even in that space right now, impediments are more regulatory. We're still trying to work through with the authorities how we can get licenses to do some of these things. But that's a space we're looking very much into.
Okay, beautiful. Do you all have twin data? And also, this is the final question for you. The rest we're going to send you an email. Are there opportunities for small companies that want to engage and be part of your digital transformation network? Do you have twin
Most
data
definitely.
and other opportunities?
Most definitely. Yes. So the first one, do we have what, twin data?
Yeah. Or your twin data, or how's your performance on cloud?
Okay, so on cloud, we're working through that strategy. We live in a remote island, and there's no cables. There are no cables, or there are no fiber yet. We're building a road, as I talked about, and that might be the opportunity for us to bring fiber to the island. And then perhaps a cloud strategy will be more feasible. But for now, we're still on premise. For small companies, we actually sent out an expression of interest nationally last December to quite a few national papers, and we had a lot of meetings with a lot of local companies. As I said, our vision is to build a better Nigeria. So we are trying to partner from the jump with Nigerian companies as much as possible to see where we can also leverage and help to build with them. As we grow, we also want to grow with them. So indeed, I think as our vision matures, we will also be reaching out continually to market. On our website, if you want to register interest, we have a free service where you can go online and register your interest and register with the company. It's open to everyone in Nigeria. So if you are not registered with us, please use that portal as another way to connect with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ekende Iwere. We so much thank you for this great presentation and for answering the questions from our participants. We also want to thank Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas for releasing you to come and present today. It's a wonderful time, and we hope to get back to you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, the next presentation will be coming from Emmanuel Odofia. Emmanuel Odofia is the CEO and founding partner of Sonic 6 Energy Limited. Emmanuel Odofia is an award-winning petroleum engineer, has done a lot of presentations for SPE, and he is into full-time digital transformation. Emmanuel Odofia will be taking us through the fundamentals of digital transformation. What is digital transformation? How can digital transformation help your business and enterprise? How it can ensure that your performance and efficiency is at a high gear. Emmanuel Odofia has done a lot of international presentations and a lot of publications. Ladies and gentlemen, handing you over to Emmanuel Odofia that had some years with Shell Nigeria before starting off the Sonic 6 Energy Limited with a group of partners. Emmanuel Odofia, over to you, please.
Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure having this opportunity. I will thank Sonny for putting this up together. And I hope I could stay within the time frame to see how we could get this done. So the name again is Emmanuel Odofia. I'm a digital oil field expert from Sonic 6 Energy Limited. What we do is we deliver oil field solutions, which include hydrocarbon accounting and production operations support. But today our focus will be on digital transformation. So to just take us through, we'll be going through the outline. Hope you've seen this, right, Sonny?
Yeah, go ahead on slideshow. Yeah,
okay.
We can do full slideshow.
Okay. Just the presentation outline. So we'll just start with a quick objective and so show some benefits and go around some basic concepts of digital oil field, and I'll be ready to take some questions. Okay, these are just key administrative outline, but let me go to the next one, which is just the objective. The objective of this talk is basically to put some clarity about what digital oil field is all about. And at the end, we should wrap it up with some concepts which some of us have been struggling with all the time. So I will not spend much time there. Then the next point is, what is digital oil field transformation?
Emmanuel, please, can you do a full slideshow? Is it possible?
Okay, let me check. Is that it?
Beautiful, yes.
Okay. What is digital oil field transformation? I would have loved to start with digitization and digitalization before talking about digital transformation. But because of time, I will just go straight to digital transformation. This is a word that I would say has been confusing to a lot of people. And the reason is simple. Because of the solutions that you have from different vendors, people tend to define digital transformation around the solution that they provide. And that makes it a little bit more complex. But during this talk, I'll keep it simple. Digital transformation simply refer to application of technology in your business process. It revolves around the people, revolves around business process, revolves around your tools and facilities. But that looks very simple, I believe. But if we go to the next, we have two broad elements of digital transformation. One is the digital capability, which is what this is, I call this the what. Somehow, this is where a lot of, even the operators, even the vendors, focus on. They spend 90% of the time talking about drones, talking about robots, and all that. But a lot is not being seen to what I call the leadership capability, which is what I call the how. And what is the how? The how simply means, how do you stick your technology into your business process such that it minimizes and brings the expected value against the disruption that you have. The truth and reality is that whenever you bring technology into your business process, it is disruptive. And if you don't have the right expertise, it creates an upset that makes a lot of businesses go back or revert back to the old ways they are doing things. But for you to get that benefit, there must be a good handshake between the digital capability and the leadership capability. So you could see digital transformation tend to be more of people than even the hardware. As we go, I'll talk more on that. So if you bring this home in the oil and gas, which is our terrain, I would say digital transformation simply is the integration of technology, people or domain experts around defined business process using a facility. They must be in sync for you to get the business benefit. I need to really stress this because at times people tend to lose those and feel that digital transformation is something that could be done in silo. No, it emphasizes strong collaboration across functions. As you could see from what was outlined there, technology or the hardware is just one element. We have other elements there which people tend to lose sight of. And in Sonosys Energy, when we engage operators, this is what the area that we like to have the conversation. Because without this, you can't get the full benefit. In fact, it is demonstrated that there are a lot of failures. Over 70% of such projects because of such mindset. For you to start implementing digital transformation, there must be a mental shift, a paradigm shift. When we carry out our training, the first set of engagement we have with the participants is, of course, to take them through what we call the paradigm, because we need to start thinking differently, and that's what digital transformation emphasizes. In terms of benefit realization, this has been demonstrated across assets. If you check some of my technical papers, I've written a lot on this subject. Gains have been demonstrated. So we are not here to reinvent the wheel. If you check my paper, OTC 28843, and that was just a written on that same subject. But I just pull off this from Chevron at our backyard here. The guys did a very, very, very fantastic job in Sunam Field, where they were able to get a benefit realization of $6 million just within 6 months. So the benefit is there. But the challenge from what we've seen is about sustainability. We'll talk more on that. But when we talk about digital transformation, what is the driver? In most cases, it is, in fact, in all cases, it is asset specific. It's not a one size fits all, but there's a common thread regardless of the asset. And one of the indicator of the objective is speed in decision making. 2 is efficiency. And 3, to reduce their risk or exposure, because when you do this, most of your travels and so on will be significantly, and of course, this translating to profitability as it has been shown here. So that's to tell you that this is something that works. But how do we engage it going forward? Before I start talking about that, I want to talk about data. In digital transformation, data is in the heart of it. Without data, just need to, just that there's no time for us to talk more about this, but on a very, very high level, when we talk about data, it needs to be very structured. That fits your business objective. But in typical case, most of our data sits in the process domain, where we capture data using tags into our DCS as data, and from there it gets into our history and possibly PI system. I normally emphasize and encourage dual PI system for redundancy. Then it goes into our data lakes. Data lakes is simply the data platform. It could be your local server, it could be the cloud and all the rest, but this is based on what fits in the business. Then the area of visualization, that's when the data start making meaning. That's when you start connecting it. But the game changer, which when we deploy this, is when you get into the realm of the workflow. The workflow starts saying who is doing this, using what time. And that is structured. The team need to constantly practice this. And of course, data ownership and all that are clearly defined. Data custodianship clearly defined. Data entitlement clearly defined. And this is how, you get it, because that ensures that everybody in the asset see one data. Nobody has his or her own data. Data is a corporate asset. It needs to be seen as such in the digital oil fields space. Then a typical data oil field journey, it starts with what I call the connecting the organizations. What does that mean? It means that you have to put in place the building blocks. What are the building blocks? Depending on your business objective, what kind of tools you need, what kind of skill set you need, what kind of discipline you need, and of course, what sort of business processes you need. This needs clearly defined, and this becomes, the foundation. A company like Shell, they used to refer that as Foundation Mark 1. So this number is about, depending on the organization, 1 to 2 years. Then it goes to the next realm, which is the embedment. The embedment is when it becomes a culture. This is how we do it here. Everybody coming here knows that X, Y, Z route. These are standard operating procedure and all. This is how we do it. Then we go into predictive mode. Predictive mode is where every organization should be and want to be. Where, you are not caught up by failures. You have plans that doesn't just trip. You see early warning signs coming, and you take proactive steps to ensure that you reverse that trend. And of course, after that, it goes into the realm of sustainability and upscaling of those values. So you could see that these need to be connected and clearly framed in every asset. Typical implementation of digital oil field typically starts with an assessment, which is what we always emphasize and to operators. A lot of operators will tell that it's not for me and all that. I said, let's just do an assessment. An assessment will tell you where you are in the ladder of maturity in the digital oil field space. Well, from there are two key output to get from there. One, what are the gaps in your asset? And we bring this out. We are not just going to tell you, you are going to see it, because we'll put you in the front to ensure that you drive it, to ensure that you get them done. I need to make it very clear at this stage. Digital oil field is not an IT project. IT is just an enabler. They are the backbone. But the asset, the business, must own it, drive it, and sustain it. And this should start right before the project inception. Then we go into the area of the design. We have the conceptual and the detailed design. Then we go to deployment. At the deployment phase, we start talking about trainings and all the rest. But however, like our friend in energy was saying, what we really emphasize, even before you start, you engage your team, you train them. Because if you don't do that, there's a lot of misconception. People might feel that you are coming in there because people want to lose their job and on all the rest. But if you have the right engagement, even before start, people will align. And in that engagement, there are 3 key things we get. 1, let people know what is coming. 2, to let them know how it's going to impact on their business. 3, how it's going to impact the corporate bottom line. And when people see this and ensure that this is about enabling, supporting, and providing value in the business, this helps that we ensure that we get this done. I've been talking about business objective. It's very, very important. Like I said, when we do the review, one of the big take or one of the big outcomes that we get is clear business objective. What does that mean? What do we want to solve? What pain do you have in your assets? This needs to come out very, very tangibly. I'm not just going to tell you, you are going to see it. What are the gaps you have? And at the beginning, we'll like making it simple so that the business owners can connect with it. Because everything we are going to do, the strategy, the business processes, the organizational structure will be tailored towards ensuring that we get that business objective. So you could see that once we get that business objective defined or clearly aligned, then we come up with a strategy that will come up with a defined business process and organizational structure that will enable us meet with those business objectives. So it's very, very important that that element is clearly resolved. Now, I mentioned this lot of papers. In fact, in one of my recent technical papers of the S, which should be published maybe this month or next month, I equally highlighted about this, why a lot of failures in digital transformation is being recorded across assets, across the world, that at least 7 in every 10 fail. So the question is, why do they fail? There are a lot of things that people, lose sight of. And like I tried to say, digital transformation is more about people than the smart devices, than the drones and the wearables and all the rest. So when we have that mental shift and try to ensure that this is tailored towards getting the business done, we try to drive that process across. So these are some of the lines that we want to look at. So we'll look at what are the key things that makes them, fail. One of it is poor or lack of engagement. Like I was trying to say, if you don't engage your workforce, they will come up with a very, very wrong conception about what you want to do. That have been tested. And what you will get will be a pushback, resistance to change, which is natural, which is normal. But the best way to overcome this from what we've done is to demonstrate value. Let the team know that you are coming to add value to them. Let the team know that you are coming to help get their job done. And the other one, again, is leadership. When I'm talking about leadership support, I'm talking about providing money. Yes, money is very, very important, but without money, of course, we can do nothing. But in reality, you need to have, at the higher level, you must have leaders who are firm believer in this concept. Because leaders who are ready to open it up, because digital oil field cuts across assets. In fact, you need HRO in this process, because maybe you might need to change your reporting lines. You may need to change, the goals and objective of the GPAs of your staff. So you could see that at that level, when you bring in HRO, it's not something that, a manager can just handle. You need that support from the highest level. So that comes in very, very tangibly. The other point is project management. The conventional project management structure or framework doesn't really work when it comes to digital transformation. Again, I wrote a paper on this, who drive the digital transformation agenda, which you'll see if you go to One Petro later this month or next month, you'll see it. I really talked about this, and I came up with a structure or a framework that ensures that when you are deploying digital oil field, you come up with what I call asset-specific framework to ensure that your delivery is tailored towards meeting your business objective. And in most cases, like I said, the driver must be the business, not the IT. This is I like stressing this at every point, because people just feel that you just bring people and whenever things go south, you start from pointing fingers. No. Then the next one is succession planning and training. A typical project of this nature, from connecting the organization up to the proactive mode. It tells us that it takes about 5 to 7 years. And I could tell that a lot of people, once they're on a roll for the first 2-3 years, want to move. And if you didn't put in place a clear succession planning, it takes you to square one, because all the process champions need to be ensured that have that continuity. Then the other one is experience. If anybody tells you that he has learned, or I learned what I'm talking about here from any university, that's not true. No university teaches you this. But I must give credence and thank my former employer. They really gave me the opportunities where I was able to see around the world on best practice, and that was able to help me to drive and have this kind of experience, which is what I'm sharing here right now. So, but that is what is happening in most of assets when a lot of people don't have that experience, and it becomes a problem. And once you don't have it, that is a recipe for failure. So let's take it back to Africa, because this conference is all about Africa. What I've seen, so the challenges and opportunities in Africa is there. I would say we have very, very, very big opportunity, but there are some challenges that we need to work on. The first one is wait-and-see attitude. When you meet particularly the small players, the marginal operators, or the medium-sized operators, what they will tell you, digital is not for me. It's for the majors. It's for the Shells. It's for the Mobiles. It's for the Chevron. For the BPs, and all the rest. But that's not true. What I always try to make them understand: give us opportunity. Let's call it an assessment. When we come out with an assessment, we will be able to identify those gaps and come to tell you that if you implement this, these are the opportunities that you have. You can close this gap. As I've earlier shared, there are things that have been demonstrated across assets. So it's not something really new, but it's just that we need to take it home and ensure that it's done. Then poor infrastructure penetration. Yes, we all know that we have challenges in terms of infrastructure, and that is to hamper our delivery. Our friend from LNG was talking about we are trying to lay fiber to Bonny Island, but those are things that in some parts of the world it's been taken for granted. So those are some of the enablers we need to put in place and and ensure it helps in delivery of these solutions in Africa. So in Africa, those are some areas we need to work on. Then, of course, in terms of experience and people having that knowledge is still very, very low. I'll say that is very low, and that's what we always advertise. We engage companies. We do training on this, and the training will clearly ensure that your workforce could understand. I mean, have that clear direction on what digital oil is all about. It's not about the smart devices or just bringing in drone, put in your system, and you ensure that you are having those done. No, that is not what it is. We ensure that we get this done across assets. So that is one of the key elements. And technology savvy, or will I say digital savvy, is still low here in Africa. When you go on other part of the world, that's an area that a lot of people are driving in. I mean, they're driving very fast. And I think that with this kind of conferences that we are having, engagement, clarity, and I think we should be able to make some gains. Of course, the cost, though, like I said, it's not really that much, because once we finish the review, we can tie the activities against cost, and it's like a big elephant. So you start little bits and you grow it over time. It's not that you just come and start and end one day. The truth is that digital transformation is a journey. One project you start that will not actually in quote end, because it's a continuous business improvement process. So we need to get that very clear. Because the continuous business improvement process, you continuously put more add-ons depending on your business need. Because I just talked about your business objective. Over time, normally we can come for review, and we review how your performance, how you perform, like a post-implementation review, and we ensure that we get this done. So when we are doing a full suite implementation, we build all that in. So you could see that this is something that is there to ensure that in Africa, we can reverse those trends where people feel that it's not for me. It's for every business that wants to survive in the 21st century. So the enterprise transformation, which is what I call it, not just a digital transformation. When you look at this, it's all about vision and strategy. I mean, every organization should build digital transformation into their strategy. I mean, that needs to be very, very clear. And this must be deliberate. I feel sad at times, but in other parts of the world, they're already doing it. And I mean, in Africa, we need to start changing those mindsets. Because if you don't do that, we'll be lagging behind. And I don't like that position. So once we have that right vision and the strategy, and of course, we put the right governance process to ensure that what we are doing is in line with what is expected in terms of our objective at every phase of operation. And this is a customer engagement. And of course, we ensure that we keep upscaling value over time. So you could see that once you can line this up, the enterprise transformation brings business value into your operation. And this is where say it's a game changer, because when we talk about digital transformation, it's not something that you say it's not for me. The reality is like a moving train. If it comes to your bus stop or train stop, and you choose not to jump in, it will leave you behind. And that's the kind of trend we tend to be seeing in Africa. But I believe that with the right mental mindset, with the right leadership, with the right openness, and if you give Sonesys Energy that engagement to even speak with your team, I mean, you can actually reverse that trend. So the take-home message is simple. Like I mentioned, digital transformation is anytime you bring in technology into a business process, it is disruptive. but it could be orchestrated. And what I mean by that, you know, you have the orchestra, where you have a lot of groups, but they are singing in unison, which is what we have here. Because in the digital transformation space, you have people from different functions working collaboratively. In some cases, they are co-located to ensure that the business objective are met. And of course, certainly this will take us into a breakthrough performance. In terms of performance evaluation, of KPIs and all the rest, I know a lot of companies struggle with this, but I mean, we developed a tool that helps you appreciate this. Because in most assets, what people just focus on is on the financials. How much is it bringing? That's very important. But if you look at the BCS, the business scorecard, then you can see that we can get this done across assets and ensure that that is done in a very structured way. The balanced scorecard approach is what we've been able to develop and fit into the digital transformation in the form that we can look at what I call your internal process. Of course, we look at your financials, we look at your cost and your organizational capacity. This must be in sync in terms of evaluating the performance that you have. Then I could say the value you are seeing, thank God what I just brought up is something that was done by Chevron. I didn't go to tell you what's happening in New Orleans or Kristiansand. I told you what's happening just in Niger Delta here. So this is achievable anywhere. And I would strongly encourage particularly local operators, the marginal field operators, and all the rest, start this. It's easier to get this done from the beginning of your operation, rather than when you have rather than when you are in the brown phase. No, because the reality is that retrofitting solutions are, I mean, at times it could be a challenge, but this must be done consciously and ensure that we deliberately deliver value. Like I said, the first thing is, one, what do we want to solve? What are the pains that you have? What are the things that what are the gaps that we need to close? And this needs to be clearly, I would say, clearly defined. Then the last but not the least is digital transformation is indispensable. Yeah, a lot of people will say it's not for me, but I will say no. I know those are digital migrants. Yeah, we have them in 4 different quadrants. The migrants, we have the masters, we have the conservative, and of course the fashionistas. But the migrants are where a lot of Africans, or we here, tend to sit. But we can transit into the space of what I call the digital masters. Because if you don't deploy technology, orchestrate it in your business process, you are going to lose significant part of your market share. I'll leave it at this point, and then if there are questions, I'll be ready to take that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel, for that great presentation, taking us through the 9 years of digital transformation. Please, we have a couple of questions for you from our participants. The first question, analyze or elaborate more on digitalization and digital transformation. The difference between digitalization and digital transformation, and also what are the core benefits or the strategic benefits of digital transformation in oil and gas operation?
Okay, let me start with the benefits. Like I said, when we do the review, the first thing we come out with is the gaps. For instance, let me share
video
it.
on if it's possible, Emmanuel.
Oh, let me check. Oh, let me start a video there. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I want to see my face. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. You can stay turn it off if you
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. So I've spent over 20 years in the EMP as operator. To some extent, I know the pain there. Let me use example, a live example, of course. In the space we are, when you start when you start producing oil, let me use that. If some well trip in some asset, it takes days for you to even know that that well has tripped. But if you deploy digital transmission tailors into ensuring that you optimize your operation, specifically try to manage your production development. Whenever the well starts falling off, you will see it. And you know specific well, and you can carry out the action immediately. So what do I mean by that? One of the basic benefits which I stated in my slides is fast decision making, speed in decision making, very key. The other one, again, very simple, is exposure. I mean, I spend a lot of time working offshore, and I can tell you, whenever you are in that chopper going down there, it's an exposure. People don't need to go to the field if they don't really have to be in the field. That's the truth. When you deploy this, a lot of the support comes from the beach, and you can significantly reduce the cost of your flight. Because I can tell you, one of the biggest ticket item in off operation is those chopper that you fly. And if companies have opportunity of reducing it, they will reduce it. And this is a very good opportunity to get that done. So I can go on and on, but like I said, it's asset specific. But like I tried to share, there are three key things that runs across every asset. One, speed in decision making. Two, improve efficiency. And three, minimize your risk in terms of exposure and all the rest. So the other bit again that we are talking about, okay, let's talk about digitalization, and digital transformation. I do write articles, and in fact, my next article will be on this subject. For me, in Sonesis, we are independent, so I just lay it out the way it is. There's nothing there to embellish. When we talk about digitization, I'll keep it very simple. I have a piece of paper in front of me. If I scan it, put it on my flash drive, what I've done, I have digitized it. So what that simply means is conversion of your analog or your physical information into a digital form. So most of the drawings have and all the rest that we have, they should be in a soft form because they are easy to manage. So what will we do that? What are we doing? We are digitizing it. Now, if after putting that on my flash drive, I send it to my friend in The Hague, I send it to my friend in New Orleans, and say, let's have a meeting around them in the next 30 minutes. And they look at it, and and they have it. What I've done, I have just digitalized that process. What does that mean? I try to bring in technology to enable what we want to do. That means that paper I was using now, my friend who is in New Orleans is seeing the same paper, and we can talk. But when we get into the realm of digital transformation, I talked about the people, I talk about the tools, I talk about the business process, I talk about the facility, and I strongly emphasize that they must be in sync. Sometimes might ask me, then, isn't that video conferencing? I said, it's not video conferencing. So people will say, what's the difference? In digital transformation, you must, I repeat, you must have defined business process. In video conferencing, conventionally, you don't have a defined business process. So if I go to an asset today where they said they deploy digital oil field, and I walk into the asset solution center, one of the first things I look, maybe as a trained eye or as an expert, is to look at the handbook. If I don't see the handbook, then I get worried. That means that things are not clearly defined. Because when we do that, in fact, when I was in one of the operators, it was clearly stated that room we are using, the Asset Solutions Center, is not a video conferencing room. Nobody should come in there to say we want to have a video, but it's a struggle. But this needs to be done, like I said, deliberately, and you need leadership support, like I was saying, very important.
Okay, coming again to add up to that, Emmanuel, how do you intend to harmonize digital space and IT structure in organizations to optimize technology and improve opportunities? How do you intend to harmonize digital space and IT structures in an organization to optimize technology and improve opportunities?
Yeah, like I said, which I do say everywhere, and I write a lot. Go to One Petro, like two of my papers are coming up this month and next month. IT is the backbone of digital transformation. We ride on IT, but to really get value, there are three elements that must be in sync. One of it is the IT support. You must have that business acumen, which is customer focused, it's business centric. Then three, you must have that technical knowledge. Within that domain, you are trying to solve that problem, and they need to be in sync. But who drives this? I said the business. So these are things that, like I was trying to say, if I come up with a framework in terms of you want to deploy or you want to implement digital oil field, I am of the opinion that once you have the decision executive and the steering committee, now you have what I call the chief digital officer. This is somebody that is from the business. Now he interfaces with the project, who are typically from the IT team. You understand me? And when he's getting this done now, you ensure that, that harmonization is there to ensure that this is the problem I want to solve, and this is what IT is bringing to solve that problem. So when you have that clearly defined structure or framework, it helps to ensure that you have clear alignment.
Okay, Emmanuel, finally, we'll still get some of your answers and send to our participants. At what level or age do you think that Nigeria is operating now in digital transformation? And the last question I know is similar to the first one you answered, difference between automation and digital transformation. At what level do you think our country, Nigeria, or Nigeria per se, or in Africa, remains on digital transformation, the level, and the difference between automation and digital transformation? That will be the final step for you.
Yeah, the digital transformation penetration at my last count, I think we were just around Africa as a continent, around 13%. Let me use that. But that number might be misleading, because I could tell you that there are a lot of, most of the IOCs are doing a lot of great jobs here. One of it is Shell, because I implemented that of Bunga. So I could say that they are doing a lot of great things here. I don't know now. But for me, the challenge has always been the local operators. And I'm using this medium to appeal to them to be open to accepting technology. If they could even have that conversation in the first place. Because most of the times, when you have this mindset that it's not for me it's a problem. Because that tells us that we will still not be in that journey. And I think the right path is to be open to have that conversation and ensure that this is something
Emmanuel, please, you may stop sharing your screen. Our viewers are not seeing you well or getting what's going on. Okay, just stop sharing and go ahead.
Okay, let me see. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So as I was trying to say, for me, when we say Africa, I would have loved to put the question the other way around. Let's come back to Nigeria. How are the local operators doing in that space? From what I'm seeing, they are not really open to it. I think it's more about the engagement, because most of the work that you see space is more of what the IOCs are doing. I think we need to start having that conversation where the local operators, the marginal field operators could now be open to ensure that they bring this on board and not to feel it's not for them. It's a game changer for any business. Then the other thing you talked about, I could not remember what you asked. Sorry, could you remember me?
Okay, we're talking about the difference between automation and digitalization, digital transformation, which I know you earlier touched.
Okay. So for me, let me just put it this way. Digital transformation is a full suite. It starts, like I mentioned, it starts from the digital capability and leadership. And this is heavily embedded in the people. It's not just having a tool. Automation, we talk about automation, we're talking about having smart and all the rest that can enable you to connect with your system and all the rest. But when we talk about digital transformation, it brings in a very important element of the human factor. And this should be in sync for you to get the business benefit.
All right, thank you, Mr. Emmanuel Odofia, the co-founder and CEO of Sonex Energy, a digital expert. We thank you for your great presentation and for answering all our questions. The rest of the questions we have for you will be sending to your email, so you'll be able to interact with the people that send the questions and also let us have it. Once again, we want to thank you for being part of the presentation today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be switching over to Angel Oyono Ngalo in Spain. Angel Oyono Ngalo will be presenting on potentials of blockchain in the oil and gas industry. How can we utilize the blockchain in ensuring performance enhancement in oil and gas industry to achieve a lot of our objectives? Angel Oyono Ngalo, over to you. He is the CEO and co-founder of Orioho, O-R-I-O-H Spain. I said it right. Please, over.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here to share the humble contribution of my team to the digitalization of the oil and gas industry in Africa. Well, as mentioned before, we are in a very challenging time, and as the rest of the participants in this series of webinars are pointing out very wisely, the only way to move right now is the way forward. So, from our role as consultants and in the mining and private banking industries, we have developed an overview of the global situation, and we have developed an approach that we consider that can lead to the enhancement of the operations of oil and gas industries in Africa. First of all, I would like to share a little context about what is blockchain. Blockchain is a technology. It has become popular because of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Let's keep in mind that only because of the of being the first one in using this technology, this cryptocurrency has become right now one of the 8th most used in the world. Cryptocurrencies are only one of the services that can be offered through the blockchain technology, and blockchain technology goes beyond cryptocurrencies. But for example, a little estimation is that current cryptocurrency business worldwide worth 300 billion. The Wall Street analysts have estimated that the blockchain industry, the industry that will make his working operations based in this technology, will worth several trillion US dollars in the next before of the end of this decade, in a range of 5 to 8 years. So this is a very, very exciting opportunity. While we're in a world situation of war about the economic situation, the potential for the leverage of this technology is immense right now, being focusing and channeling the efforts adequately. In order to do so, as mentioned before, I would like to present the strategy that our team has developed. One moment, please. It's a strategy that refers to the points that we have detected that can be enhanced through this technology in the oil and gas industry. So I proceed to give a little explanation. Our company is specialized in emerging technologies and using them in the right way to provide an added value to our clients that we look forward to set us apart of the rest of the market and also our clients. We understand that the only way that we can understand our success is through the success of our clients. The team of specialists are computer and telecommunications engineers recruited with an extensive experience in the innovative sector that have been recruited among the top talent in the infrastructure industry in Spain. The qualifications have several ranks: PMP, ITIL, V3, CMMI, Java certified. They have proven experience in project management, services, development, quality. This team has been awarded repeatedly. And the development networks also. They have developed the work experience in several very important projects in the infrastructure industry. Like you can see the high-speed train from Medina Meca, the electronic transformation of administration services, the Spanish service for sales rate systems, the architectural improvement of several nets in Spain, and telemedicine services in Madrid, in the Madrid area. Well, the offers that we can, technology that we can offer goes from is concentrated in three aspects: digital division, software, factory division, and artificial intelligence division. I cannot go too much into details to not extend too much about each one, but what we can say is that provide practices for the use of digital media through their own business environment. We develop specific applications through their life cycle, and we constantly analyze emerging technologies and develop these projects implemented in a way that can enhance the performance of our clients. So our philosophy is complete, total, and integral solution for our clients. That starts with accessibility, making have access to the information that is worth for them, to put this information available for them, scale this model, adapt to the business needs, and integrate all of this constantly, so we can constantly level up the performance of our clients. In this case, for the management of oil and gas business, we have detected 3 needs that can be severely enhanced through this technology. In this case, the supply chain traceability, the KYC procedures, and also, as mentioned before, the blockchain technology allows to create a new economy based on these so-called crypto assets that can generate additional cash flows for the participants in this economy, and that is being even every time more looked as a safe haven from the economic, from the traditional economic turbulences, investing in the so-called crypto assets. Well, in our products, in our reviews, we focus on interoperability. Our products are created by developers with web services communicating between systems, so our clients don't have any issue using them with other systems. Ad hoc adaptation to guarantee that the solution that we deliver is specifically adapted to the needs of our partners in each case, and provide services for automatization, to exchange this information automatically without the need of constantly supervise these processes. The data security, of course, is stored encrypted with algorithms that provide a total security that to the day are absolutely secure, have been demonstrated absolutely secure, and are resistant to quantum computer attacks. So regarding the supply chain traceability, the traceability of the goods is essential in any economic activity. It's one of the traits for a solid organization, and is the main base of the reputation in the market of a client, with all the effects that this creates. We have designed a solution to track the cycle, the commercial cycle of the goods from the origin, let's say with GPS and QR NFC tags, to the refining process, to the shipping, manufacturing, and the logistics. All these stages can be followed through devices that with the IoT, or Internet of Things, so-called IoT, can deliver constantly information in real time about in which point these goods are and the performance of the participants in this in the business activity, and the identity of the performance as well. Due to the blockchain technology, the transparency and security that can be delivered in real time is unprecedented. The possibilities to create an added value for the economy are there. We can ensure the current functionality of a supply chain in real time, which is so important to avoid any type of losses. The smart contracts, also the so-called smart contracts, which are based that are based on the Ethereum platform, allow to automate the entire process, reducing operating cost. And as mentioned, the IoT devices monitor each step of the process, so the user can collect and store all the data with a simple interface. Information, as said in the ancient times, is the merchandise of kings. So the information is the most valuable asset in the business management, and we have developed this strategy so the users can have this information constantly updated for the best use and the decision taking. So this traceability, as mentioned, allows to incorporate the data of GPS tracking, mass balance, oil standards, security events. As said before, we know the identity of each participant in the business activities through the user login, the origin, who has been manufacturing the product, which company made the logistic, which company take care in case that is necessary out of the client's company, which company take care of each service, what are the schedules, and the cost. What costs are being generated with these activities? All this with a simple interface in which you can collect and store the data, and that which access is only for the user. This is very important. Information, as mentioned before, is tremendously valuable. Information cannot go to wrong hands. We ensure this with this technology. Following the security that inherent to the adequate information, we go to another point which is critical in business security and performance: KYC. The damage caused by hacking information and similar problems are tremendously damage and in a tremendous damage. So KYC is even every time more critical for the performance of the business activities and for the reputation of a company. We live in times where a little bad news going through the market can make lose very big amounts of money to the companies, and also business credibility, which is very hard to recover. We have developed a trustable independent platform to enhance these commercial activities, keep track of the operations, and store statements and credentials from different institutions in each case. So we can ensure that everyone is dealing with the person that needs to be dealing with. It's a very simple process. It's a win-win solution for all the business community. First, in this example, credential is issued. The proof to verify this credential is offered, and after the required process, the proof is verified. Every time that someone is participating in a transaction, this can be verified. This person can be verified for the security of the rest of the participants. Trucks can be verified. When somebody hasn't operated with someone yet, he can check a veridic profile, and this makes much more easier to develop business, to accelerate the economy, to enhance economic activities, and as said before, offer security in order to keep the business growing. Every tool that can be used for the growing of the business is going to be appreciated in the long term when used constantly. when used constantly. Mentioning the additional cash flows that can be generated. As mentioned before, the industry that is being generated because of the using of this blockchain technology in order to exchange the so-called crypto assets, as mentioned before, is projected to reach several trillion US dollars in the next very short future. So with some of the most important assets and companies and talent in the African continent, we really consider that is an excellent opportunity to increase the creation of wealth that for which our colleagues work so hard and so much time. The credibility that can be enhanced through these security technologies can attract investors from all around the world that can verify all the information that you need immediately. What we propose in order to create additional cash flows that can be always so needed in situations of recession, like worldwide recession of the market, like this one. What we propose is a platform based on smart contracts. This solution, based, as mentioned before, in the Ethereum platform, allows investors from all over the world to acquire assets like bonds, shares of the EBIT through a digital format with total security and transparency and monetizing this new form of economy. We are here in a situation in which right now the 20% of the economy needs, of the world needs in energy are being satisfied through natural gas. Because of this, we consider that this is a rising asset that is also very abundant, very abundant in Africa, in the African continent, with some projects that we have seen in Mozambique or in other parts in Africa that have invested more than 20 or 13 billion US dollars for their exploitation. With our view, a part of the production of this asset, which is raising so much in the worldwide industry every time more, could be backing up the issue of a crypto asset that could be monetized by these companies and creating new cash flows in this aspect to compensate the
You have 2 minutes so you can get your questions.
problems that are generated in recessions. So this is our proposal in order to enhance the digitalization of the oil and gas industry in Africa. And thank you very much for this opportunity to share our views. And thank you very much to the tireless leader of this African and oil industry, which is Mr. Sonny Okwita, which we are so happy to offer our cooperation.
Okay, thank you, Angel. We appreciate your presentation on the potentials of blockchain in oil and gas industry, how to ensure cash flow and optimization of processes. The first question we have for you is, what is the principle behind the blockchain technology? What is the principle under which it operates?
Well, blockchain technology is a concept which, as mentioned before, is being popularized by the cryptocurrency Bitcoin.
Okay, you can go ahead and stop sharing, Angel, so we can see you better.
Okay, perfect. 1 minute. So I keep answering the question. So the concept is that we can create a ledger that cannot be altered by third parties, that cannot be altered once that it has been written, which is like, let's say, if he's writing in a way that doesn't allow anyone to erase what has been written. This creates a traceability of each of its states, which is per se an added value that hasn't been reached before. We can have absolutely certainty of a track of a data without any institution or any third party guaranteeing this, just because in the way that has been writing in this with this technology in the ledger. So this comes from the same concept that even gave the origin to the internet that we use nowadays, and is a system that, as mentioned before, has made to create value, just because being the first ones in using it with this example of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, which is used nowadays with this system without any actual collateral, just because of the use of this technology as first ones to offer these.
All right, finally, does it support Bitcoin? Does it support Bitcoin?
Excuse me?
Does the blockchain technology support Bitcoin?
Yes, blockchain is a type of technology which is used by the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. But as mentioned before, blockchain can offer services beyond the cryptocurrencies, and specifically Bitcoin, for example. Okay,
we appreciate it. Thank you, Angel Oyono-Ngallo, for a great presentation. The rest of the questions will be directed to your email. And participants, please bear in mind that when the questions are answered, we will send them to you. And we are open to ask you to go to our Facebook and see these presentations. Energy Corporate Africa on our Facebook, you will catch us on there. And we also will be sharing the slides based on permission from the presenters, that all of you will get the presentation and the slides appropriately. Ladies and gentlemen, as we're thanking Angel Oyono, we want to have the last presentation for today coming from Abdulraham Minjua. Abdulraham AR, as he's fondly called, is the Asset Optimization Manager of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, SNEPCO. Abdulraham Minjua started off as a petrochemical engineer, a petroleum engineer, also a chemical engineer, has done a lot of presentations, and he's been out there working on how SNEPCO can optimize its assets. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are getting Abdulraham to do his presentation, Angel will be asking you finally to unshare your screen so that AR can come in.
Okay.
AR, if you're ready, we're handing over the microphone onto you now. It's panning on you, and the camera is panning on you. As you want to do it, to go ahead and present or speak on your very topic on how to optimize assets in SNEPCO. AR, are you ready? Are you ready, AR? Okay, AR, go over if you're ready. Is your video icon on? Ladies and gentlemen, AR, are you there? Okay, let's get back to you for the final question as we are trying to get AR on. Angel, does the decentralized nature of blockchain make it more secure? Does the decentralized nature of blockchain make it more secure?
Well, because of the nature of the concept, is what makes it special from other technologies that are centralized and depend from only one server. Blockchain is a network in which every participant is at the same time a verifier if he decides to do so, and all the participants share the same information at the same time. So the level of security increases with the level of participants. And as mentioned before, the technology of to encrypt the information makes the information of in this ledger resistant to attacks even with quantum computers.
Okay. Okay, Angel, we'll get back to you as you have a lot of questions too. I think people are interested in the blockchain and also interested in the Bitcoin, the security of blockchain. AR of SNEPCO is ready now, so we are switching over the camera to SNEPCO, where we have AR ready. Thank you, Angel, for your presentation and insight. AR, over to you. He is the asset optimization manager of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, SNEPCO. AR, a chemical engineer and also a petroleum engineer, has been a presenter in various forums, has written a lot of professional and engineering articles to back up what he's doing. He is a well-known author and also someone who has engaged in community efforts to ensure that talents are being developed in Nigeria and Africa all over. Ladies and gentlemen, AR Abdulrahman Minjio.
Hello, Sonny, can you hear me? Please confirm.
Yeah, go ahead, we can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all. And apologies for the slight hitch that we had. And incidentally, I will not be sharing my slides today due to some internal controls, but I'll read through my presentation as quickly as possible. So good day once again, and Son, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak about digital transformation in Shell and in SNEPCO specifically. I'll be speaking in the context of the Shell strategy and how SNEPCO fits into that strategy, because as a deep water business in Nigeria, Shell does not operate, SNEPCO does not operate in isolation, but we drive our operations to fit with the group strategy, which is one of our stakeholders in addition to our host government. So digitalization, is one of the tools that we use to achieve our purpose, by enabling our strategy. So, digital technologies are transforming our lives in ways that we couldn't imagine even 10 years ago. How we get information, how we shop, how our health and co is changing. We're generating so much data, by the day, and so that amount of data that is being generated is giving us the ability to use data in ways that we have not used it before. Digitalization is also transforming the energy industry, and Shell is leading in this, among other big oil and gas companies. It's estimated by the World Economic Forum that there's some $1.6 trillion of value to be gained in the oil and gas industry and the wider society by 2025. Shell as a company has been a pioneer in developing and deploying digital technology for decades. Since the 70s, we deployed seismic processing. We also introduced smart field technology, that allowed us to operate wells remotely. And in subsequent decades, since the 1990s, we've led in subsea robotics in the deep water oil industry. Digitalization is transforming our business, from how we find and produce oil and gas to how we interact with our stakeholders. The transformation will accelerate, as we invest even more in digital technologies such as data analytics, AI, supported by the cloud. In short, digital technologies have a significant role to play in delivering all of our strategic goals. And these goals, are what are going to help us achieve our purpose. Our purpose as a company is to power progress together with society by providing more and cleaner energy solutions. And the three things that we want to be to achieve this purpose are: one, to be a world-class investment case. Second is to thrive through the energy transition to a lower carbon energy system. And the third is to secure a strong societal license to operate. So I'll take each of these, one by one, and also talk about how digitalization is helping us, within the context of SNEPCO. So for a world-class investment case, that's our first strategic objective. Digitalization plays an important role in achieving this goal. It helps us to generate high returns that we need today by reducing costs, improving productivity and reliability, and the performance of our operations. We have access to vast amounts of valuable data, and we're using this information to make better decisions and improve our costs and operations. Today, we have an estimated 200 petabytes of data, which has been growing about 20% every year. We're increasingly moving that data to the cloud, and this gives us close to limitless potential capacity, processing capacity and instant availability. Our subsurface work, such as seismic surveys that help us to locate oil and gas, generates the largest amount of data. But also sensors such as downhole pressure gauges that we install in our well, help us monitor equipment and produce also a significant amount of data. We're using AI to revolutionize how we analyze data. For example, we've developed machine learning models to search for common geological features, such as faults, that can help us find oil and gas resources more quickly, in hours rather than weeks, and at lower cost, and ultimately, improve our recovery rates. So, working alongside computers, our geophysicists now have more time to concentrate on different aspects, seismic interpretation rather than just data processing. Now, since 2018, we developed and deployed machine learning models to detect and prevent potential downtime of equipment at some of our operations. We have used these models on our field gas compressors on Bonga to aid prediction of compressor failures based on the recognition of historic failure symptoms and patterns. The model analyzes information from sensors that track around 200 parameters for each system. The solution continues to predict and prevent potential shutdowns that have saved us several millions of dollars in potential loss production, gas flaring penalties, and equipment replacement. Now, moving on, 3D printing is another area where we've used to replace obsolete parts. We recently deployed this on Bonga to replace some of our damaged water barrage seals on our single point mooring system. This helped to save time, cost, and potential oil deferments when compared to what the OEM suggested. It would have taken 15 weeks, but we're able to do this in just about 4 weeks. So that's a huge saving in terms of time and cost. The other element that's helping us, to achieve our world-class investment case is the digital twin. So on Bonga, we have a virtual representation of our asset. Sensors and algorithms, will enable a risk-based inspection program where we will only inspect what is important based on real-time heat maps. It will also enable us to optimize inspection and maintenance scopes compared to traditional maintenance reference plans that are, sequential and take equipment by equipment. This will make sure that we're only maintaining what needs to be maintained, and thereby reducing exposure and reducing cost. In drilling, we've used tools such as the Schlumberger Geosphere for real-time reservoir mapping in Bonga. The tool uses high-definition mapping to better quantify structural uncertainty, providing enhanced depiction of the target zones and surrounding conductive layers to maximize reservoir exposure. It integrates sophisticated algorithms that take advantage of the ever-increasing technical complexity, combining mechanical, electrical, and software systems. It has proved valuable in situations where seismic vintages have been unable to accurately prognose reservoir sands. For those of us that operate offshore, we know that the turbidite deposition system is very complicated, and net to gross and sand continuity are one of our biggest uncertainties. In one of our wells, we're able to achieve 300% increased exposure to the sand phase compared to traditional drilling techniques. So now moving on to a second strategic objective, which is thriving through the energy transition. With a solid financial foundation, SNEPCO is building a company that is not just resilient through the energy transition to a lower carbon future, but one that will thrive in a new energy landscape. Digitalization will play a significant role in improving the efficiency of how we produce and use energy and how it is consumed by our customers. As I mentioned earlier, real-time monitoring of equipment such as pumps and heat exchangers allow us to analyze and improve their performance. This enables more stable operations and improved energy efficiency. On Bonga, this has continued to help us keep our greenhouse gas intensities to near global top quartile levels. We're currently exploring the use of machine learning models, to increase the transparency of the reporting of our gas flaring data, so that we get more credibility both internally within the group, but also with the regulators such as DPR and the wider society. So moving on to the third element, which is how digitalization is going to help us to secure a strong societal license to operate. Digitalization strengthens this strategic imperative by improving the safety and transparency of our operations. In our operations, drones and robots are now able to do some of the jobs in places that are potentially hazardous or difficult to reach for people. This is the case in our use of unmanned aerial vehicles to monitor our flare tips without having to shut down our operations. The images collected by the drones can be analyzed to identify potential damages such as and other structural issues. We also routinely use robots for our subsea maintenance, monitoring, and intervention. From our collaborative work environment in the office, we seamlessly link up with our field operators in real time to conduct operations such as well potential tests and well landings and completions. Tools such as machine vision that deploy advanced image and video analysis are improving our health, safety, and environmental performance. For example, we have advanced plans to test video analytics linked to wearable technologies that allow real-time remote support for our frontline operators and minimize the number of people exposed in the field. So this will minimize exposure, improve safety, and also reduce body counts. The ability to track information more accurately helps us to increase transparency. And like I stated, we're also currently exploring the use of machine learning models to monitor greenhouse gas emissions to enhance the transparency of our reporting, both internally within Shell, but also externally to regulators. And like our previous speakers have mentioned, from Mr. Ekinde to Mr. Odofia and to Angel, digitalization comes with risks, but also with opportunities and requires new ways of working. So Shell takes the threat of cybersecurity very seriously. We regularly review and update our procedures for computer access and focus on safeguarding our critical business systems. Access to proprietary digital tools and technologies is restricted to teams of well-trained and highly skilled engineers who require the use of these technologies in helping Shell remain a world-class energy company. Our approach to how we develop and deploy digital technology is also evolving. We're increasingly adopting an agile mindset, favoring digitalization projects that create initial solutions to problems. If these initial solutions work, we extend them to other areas at scale quickly. If they do not work, we try something new. Talking about people and skill and talent, we attract people with digital skills, as well as grow those internally who wish to acquire those skills. And we provide opportunities to work on some of the most important and challenging problems of our time. We employ a range of digital professionals, from developers to robotic engineers to experts in 3D printing and augmented reality. We have data scientists across our business who build sophisticated machine learning algorithms and the systems needed to run them. We're part of a network of more than 1,800 staff working with analytics experts to help deploy solutions across the company. We also leverage the Shell Group's strategic collaborations with innovative technology companies such as Microsoft and C3 to deploy the latest market standard technologies so we can focus on generating value today and deploying technologies that create a competitive advantage for tomorrow. So in conclusion, SNEPCO is investing in digital technologies that allow us to monitor, analyze, react to subtle patterns in data. As a result, we are running our business more efficiently. For these reasons, digitalization is an integral part of Shell's strategic ambitions, which is to become a world-class investment case for our shareholders and stakeholders around the world, to thrive as the world transitions to low carbon energy, and to continue to strengthen our societal acceptance to operate our business. So I will leave it at this, Sonny, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions that we may have. Back to you. Sonny, you're on mute, so I can't hear you.
That was a beautiful insight. Thank you on what SNEPCO is doing to ensure optimization and digital transformation. Please, the first question, just elaborate on the impact of digital transformation of the optimization processes you are doing in Bunga. How has it come to enhance production or leverage on the cost?
Thank you. That's a very, very, very good question. So I'll give maybe one or two examples, and I'll pick up where Mr. Odofia dropped a point around the ability to detect wells instantaneously. So all of our wells are fitted with sensors and gauges that give us a real-time update. So when a well rate changes or a well trips, we're able to respond almost immediately. We also have a system where of what we call exception-based surveillance. So exception-based surveillance is a system that helps us to track a number of parameters across our operations, from the wells to the separators to the compressors to the heat exchangers. And what it does, it picks up signals ahead of time, sometimes 3-4 days, sometimes weeks ahead. It picks up trends, for example, with a pump. It can pick up that a pump is beginning to cavitate 3 weeks ahead of when that pump might fail. And so that alerts our maintenance teams to go in and intervene in that pump and prevent that shutdown. So what you have is a situation where you probably incur a shutdown of maybe 2 or 3 hours to fix the pump, rather than an unanticipated shutdown, that would result from a failure. And we've seen savings in hundreds of thousands of barrels per year in terms of avoidable deferment, but also in terms of maintenance costs. So rather than do routine sequential maintenance, what we do is risk-based maintenance based on what our models tell us. So our models give us a heat map to say these are the hot points, these are the areas that you should be intervening and maintaining, and then we focus on those rather than doing routine maintenance that involves shutting down everything and doing and starting over again. So we've seen benefits in the tens of millions of dollars over the past 2 to 3 years.
Beautiful, AR. The next question is, please elaborate on your people, process, and organizational changes you have made to trigger value towards the technology spend. What are the people, process, organizational changes you have done that's kind of gingering or triggering value?
Yeah. So one of the things, and I think again I'll refer to Udofe's presentation. One of the things you have to start is that digitalization or any solution, it needs to be helping you to achieve your business purpose and realize your strategic objectives. Because you don't do technology or digital just for the sake of it. You do it because it makes your business safer, it makes it cheaper, makes it more efficient, and it enhances your reputation. So leadership, sponsorship is critical, and we have leadership from the very top of the company. That's where it starts, and so everybody in the business knows that digital and technology is a priority for the company. And then, having said that tone, what we then do is we have a process that we call business technology mapping. And what we do is we sit down with the front line, with the operators, with our asset managers and project managers who actually are responsible for delivering the bottom line. We sit down and analyze what we think are their pain points. And looking at the pain points, doing some sort of SWOT analysis, threats and opportunities. We look at, what technologies and digital solutions are available to mitigate some of the threats, but also to leverage some of the opportunities. Now, having done that, we now assess what are our internal capabilities to deploy these solutions. And sometimes we find that we have the internal capability, we have the engineers, the data scientists to do it internally. Other times we find that we need to reach out to the mothership in the head office to say, okay, we need support with some expertise. And then there are other times where we actually reach outside the group, altogether to other companies such as Microsoft, and Amazon and co. to come up with solutions. So we have an integrated system, that first looks internally to see whether there's a solution. If there isn't, then we'll move external. But then more specifically in terms of capability, what we also do is we build capability around solutions. So if I go back to the exception-based surveillance system that I spoke about, we built an integrated team of engineers, process engineers, maintenance engineers, operators, reservoir engineers, petroleum engineers, data scientists around that solution. And they bring their diverse set of capabilities, to bear in implementing that solution. And over time, they also then learn to train the rest of the organization. So that's how we progress that.
Beautiful. Okay, finally, how do you get necessary information from big data or your database system? How do you get necessary information if that falls within your perimeter?
Yes, it does, and that's the billion-dollar question. Just like Mr. Kehinde mentioned, data is the most crucial element. And you have legacy data, you have all sorts of formats of data, you have databases, Oracle, Excel, and it can be a bit of a challenge. But again, if you start with the outcome, what are you trying to solve? You identify the problem, then you determine what pieces of data do you need to solve that problem. And then you work backwards to clean up just enough data that you need to solve the problem. Because, Shell has petabytes of data. If we say we're going to fix all our data problems today, we probably will be doing that for the next 10 years without being able to produce any oil and gas, and then we'll be broke. So my advice, is to take it piecemeal. Identify a problem, fix the data around that problem, and then scale that up to the next problem. And then we've seen that progress gradually, where our data systems are getting better and better with time. We still have a long way to go, but we made a lot of progress. And then more specifically in terms of extracting value from data, we have very powerful visualization solutions that help us in real time to dig in, to our data from an asset level to a well level and even to a reservoir level. And so we have these visualization dashboards for our engineers that they can query and collaboratively, solve problems. So these dashboards are located on the cloud, and so they allow for real-time collaboration between engineers. So engineers don't need to take a screenshot and send emails. They just within the dashboard, just like a chat, just like the way we're chatting on Zoom here. They send a chat to their colleagues saying, "Oh, I'm observing this trend. This pressure trend is going out of range. Can we have an operator check this pump 1Z?" And then immediately you get a response saying, "Oh, we've checked it. It's all okay." Or, "No, we've checked it. There's a problem, and we schedule it for maintenance." So those are some of the ways in which we're extracting value from our data.
All right, thank you, AR. That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be sending the remaining questions to AR email for want of time, so he can look at the questions and we'll be able to get back to you soon on that. Remember, this webinar continues tomorrow, July 10th, and we want to thank AR of SNEPCO for a great presentation and all the people that presented today from Ekende Ohiwere. We're thanking Emmanuel Odofia, also thanking Angel Oyono, and all the good presentations we've garnered today. Remember, you are free to go to our Facebook, Energy and Corporate Africa on Facebook, to watch this video again and interact more and share your views and your questions. Tomorrow, we will continue the presentation having Stig Settesmal, who is the CTO and also the head global technology of Siemens. He'll be presenting tomorrow. We have Tangod Ewe, who is the CEO and technical director of Cypher Crescent, and also Funke Tello, the CEO of Energy ASICS. We're also going to have on board Kenny Job, the upstream manager of Gambia National Petroleum Corporation, and Oladuni Owo, who is the CEO of Black Gold Authority. Among other things we'll be looking at tomorrow will be how to bridge the gender gap in digital transformation, what Africa is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being part of the great webinar today and what we have been able to achieve. And we're asking you to join us tomorrow as we continue the presentation. And in the line of the month, we have other webinars coming, like Nigeria International Pipeline Technology and Security Conference, where issues of digitalization and digital transformation, technology, and security in the pipeline sector will still come up. I want to thank all of you, our kind of presenters and participants that have joined us today. It's been a wonderful day. And as we are saying goodbye, we all want to say gracias. And we want to say a big thank you. Merci beaucoup. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa Network is world and the world is a global village. And that's what digitalization has come to do for us. As we continue to look at the data, the analytics, the warehousing, the distribution, the management, the people, the processes, the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again and see you tomorrow. And at this time, I want to thank all my IT guys from Engineer Chris Iquilo and also Engineer Precious Wane Shindo. They've been doing great works at the back, making sure that we are able to reach all of you. Thank you and see you all tomorrow. Remain blessed.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Gracias.
Yes.
Are you available? Thank you.